Welcome to episode 0 of Artworkers, the Independent Artists Podcast. I am Carl Bindman, and I'm happy to have you. I'll be releasing the first real episodes of the show in a couple of days, but I wanted to get this out there, both to make the podcast available to subscribe to on all of the podcast services, but also maybe to set out a little bit the objectives that I'm trying to accomplish with this show. If you're interested, you can think of this as a teaser, you can think of this as a mission statement, you can think of this as whatever you want. Those are how I'm thinking of it.
Section 1. Hello World.
I know I mentioned this, but I'll say it again. Then my name is Carl Bindman. I am an actor here in New York City. I'm from Montreal. I have a background in journalism. I also do sort of photography, miscellaneous design work. I have my hands in many pies, and I thought it would be worthwhile to try to synthesize some of these interests of mine into a cohesive package. The show, to me, is something that I have been thinking about for a minute, because it's something that I've been doing for quite a long time, which is just talking with my friends and with my colleagues about making art and what art means to us and our practices and craft. One of the great joys of being a practicing actor is getting to put my practice in conversation with others. That is how I fell in love with acting. That is how I continue to find joy and discovery in it, is every moment of practicing the craft with other people. You're exposed to new ways of being, new ways of doing, and that's something that I find very inspiring. I also think it's useful in the sense of demystifying how art gets made, especially acting. I think a lot of time the conversations that are accessible to the public around acting are not necessarily reflective of the way that the majority of artists make art. You know, most of us are not celebrities. Most of us do not get to charge $3 million for an appearance. We're all working as hard as we can to get to do what we can with the perhaps more meager resources available to us. That's what I mean by a working artist, by an independent artist. I want to sort of take apart the nuts and bolts of the labor of the craft, you know, the labor behind and inside the work that all artists do. This is the kind of thing that I talk about with friends, with colleagues, over coffee, between takes, between rehearsals. And I think that opens maybe an accusation against me, which is that this project is just an excuse for me to talk to my friends. You know, you tell me. But I think that the people that I'll be talking to, in my experience, are people with insight that should be heard. On that level, here are some of my, let's call them ideological commitments that underpin the project.
Section 2. Pure ideology.
Art making is labor. Laborers know what they're doing and care about their craft. They have real knowledge of conscious and unconscious practices of making and are always developing these practices. The majority of voices available around the practice of art making do not reflect the reality of art making for the majority of artists. Talking about the process of labor, and artistic labor in particular, is worthwhile for the artist and the community to demystify and demythologize material practices and concerns. This show will focus on theater artists. Theater and acting are not any more or less mystified in their process of creation than any other art form. They are simply what I know about and make myself. This show will focus on New York artists. New York City is not so special, it's just where I am. The show will aim to replicate the way that these things are expressed, explored, shared, challenged, complicated in the world, in the community between artists. And what that is a conversation between peers, wherever and however that can occur. These conversations, I think, ought to allow for respectful disagreement, as personal art practices are personal, yes, but also social and worthy and deserving and capable of withstanding critique and being placed in social contexts. These conversations must be respectful of the time of everybody involved, the host, the guest, the listener. These conversations must have allegiance, you can say, to truth, accuracy, responsibility. And, I like to hear what my friends and colleagues think about our shared form, and I think you might enjoy it too. That's really the main thing.
Section 3. What you can expect.
On the practical level, these are going to be roughly hour-long conversations. I want them to feel like talking over coffee, and I want to record where and how I can with the people that I have access to. So think scrappy, think personal, think low gloss. We're embracing the spirit of the independent artist. What does that mean? Honestly, I don't know. It's a feeling that I have that I connect to. And to the listeners out there, I want to hear from you. Mail in, text me, call me, email me. Don't do most of those things. But I will be providing ways for you to get in touch with me. And I want to hear from you.
Section 4. The point.
The question, I think, that is on everybody's mind is why me and why now? The honest answer is because I want to. But more substantially, in this post-COVID reality, it strikes me that there isn't really a consensus, not that there ever was really, but maybe the myth of a consensus, about how to do the thing we're all trying to do, keep making art. I feel, at least, it's all kind of murky and vague, the steps from here to there, here being at home on my computer, or as I currently am, talking into my closet because the air conditioning unit on the building outside is too loud for me to record at my computer. And there being on stage in front of an audience, or depending on what your role on a project is, in the audience, watching all of the work that you've put together on stage. And I feel that the journey from here to there is murky. As somebody who gets to do it a lot, I think relatively speaking, I'm hashtag booked and blessed. And nevertheless, I feel uneasy and insecure about the state of affairs right now in how shows get made, in how art is valued, in how artists go about doing what they do. So I think this project is for my own edification. I want to talk to people about this thing that I care a lot about, that I know about, that they know about, that we share as artists, as members of the theatrical community. And here's the thing. I already do that. I do talk with my peers and with my colleagues, and so does everybody that I know. But I think that by building a body of work that kind of provides an archive for these perspectives, I, and maybe you, will be able to get a handle on what's going on more concretely. But maybe not, which comes down again to the main thing, which is also maybe the only real reason anybody makes any art at all, or a podcast, because I want to. And I want you also to listen. So that's the deal that I'm offering. If you're interested, all you have to do is press play.
Section 5. Onwards and upwards.
The first 2 episodes are going to drop in a few days. Helen Romeu is the first subject interviewee. Eben Wong is subject number 2. Subject number 3 is a secret. But you can rest assured that I will be aiming to platform people whose voices are not regularly solicited on the topic of making art. It's a little reactionary for me to say, like, oh, only celebrities get heard and only voices from like the people who've already really succeeded get heard, and their way of making art has nothing to do with our way of making art. But it's kind of true, and I really do think that it's a missing area in the available discourse of what's going on in the art world, in the theater world. And I want to look at the voices of people who are working now or have been working for a long time and aren't Josh Groban, right? Or name another very successful artist. Because the people who I know have insights and have valuable things to say, and they know and care about their work as much as any other artist. And the thing about artists that I know is that the things they have to say, the problems they face, are similar to the ones that I face. And their solutions and their discoveries and their practices are applicable to my own journey. So for you as an audience member, I want to make that available regardless of who you are. I think, obviously, if you're also a practicing artist, this will be very helpful. If you're a member of the public, of the audience of art, I think this is also going to be helpful in demystifying and clarifying what goes into the works that you go out and engage with. What artists care about and how that gets reflected in their work, I think enriches your experience receiving it.
Section 6. Bye-bye.
Anyway, I've talked for a little bit here, but the point is, I'm excited to get to talk to the people that I respect about the work that we both care about. And I hope, and I wish, and I want you to also enjoy that. I think it's a good ground, and I invite you to stand here with me on it, and I welcome any ideas that you have to make this ground more fertile for everybody. I've been Carl Bindman. This is Artworkers, the Independent Artists Podcast, and I can't wait for you to hear what we get up to. Thank you. And thanks to Louie Zong for the use of our theme song, Fragments, off of the really cool album, Chopped Up Piano. Thanks, Louie.